Hi there, Stanton here from Algo Trading. Today I'm introducing to you the Big Mac B. The Big Mac B is essentially a Bollinger breakout strategy. It uses the MACD to confirm the trend and the MFI, the Monetary Flow Index, to define a trading range. Now let's go through the settings quickly. We have our main settings, which are the same as all my other algos. We've got the number of positions, buy positions you wish to enter, the number of sell positions per trade. It's got your trade comment, your magic number, and the same money management settings, stop loss, take profit if you want to use a trailing stop or not, your trailing stop and your trailing step, and then your risk in percentage of free margin. Let's first look at the Bollinger settings. The Bollinger trade type, there's two options here. The first option is either to exceed the bands if it's above or below the bands, or cross back from the bands. Let me just show you quickly what that means. So here's a good example. So this candle exceeded the top Bollinger band. So if we're using above or below band setting, let's just set that. This one exceeded the top level, so the next candle would have been a buy, and then it would have entered the trade on this candle, and it would have taken, I think the take profit is 50 pips, so it would have entered the trade over here. If you use cross back from upper and lower bands, that essentially is what's happening in this candle. So this candle broke the upper band, and then the next candle broke below the band, back below the band, and then the trade would have been entered on this candle here. So that is the cross back from upper and lower bands, and the break above and below bands is just the standard break of the Bollinger Band. And on this trading, we always trade on the next candle. So if this candle broke through the upper band, this candle would have been the trade trigger. Okay, we just got the standard Bollinger settings. So we've got the averaging period, MA shift, deviation, what price you apply to, and then also what time frame you want the Bollinger Bands to be used on. Okay. The next setting is the MACD settings. The MACD is we use as our trend indicator for this expert advisor. So if it's in a buy trend, then a buy trade will be entered if this is a buy condition. If it's in a sell trade will be entered to if this is a sell condition. The Bollinger settings is in the sell condition. There's two settings for this as well. We've got the signal line crosses the main line, and we've got the MACD trend. So let me explain to you what those two are. The signal line crosses the main line. I've got the MACD on the 20-minute time frame on this algo. So if the candle at the same point that this either crosses above or below the Bollinger Band, if the main line, which is this one, crosses through the signal line, that's deemed as a crosses up above it, that's deemed as it's a positive or it's in a buy trend. For instance here, if you see the MACD, this, the main line crosses below the signal line, that signifies a sell trend. The MACD trend looks at the previous three main lines. If the three main lines, if the previous one is larger, if the current one is larger than the previous one, that determines the MACD trend, and that will be a buy trend. If you could see these three lines, this one is bigger than that one, is bigger than that one. And the same goes for the sell trend. So if this one is lower than that one and is lower than that one, that signifies a sell trend. Okay, now we're going to look at the MFI settings. The MFI settings, it's the Monetary Flow Index. We're using this as a trading range in this algorithm. What does that mean? Is that if we look at the indicator itself, no trade will be entered into. According to this, we've got the upper level is 75 and the lower level is 30. So if the upper level is greater than 75, no trade will be entered into. And if the lower level is lower than 30, you could see here it's 27, no trade will be entered into. Because this is a breakout strategy, we use the trading range to avoid buying or selling into a overbought or oversold market. So if it breaks 70, I don't know, we'll just see if we could find one where it's broken 70. If that's above 75, you can see that's at 85. You don't want to be taking any long trades at this point, because the chances of the market coming back down or stabilizing is very high. If it's below, you can see with this point here, if it's below, that's value is 22, but if it's below 30, no trades will be entered. So the MFI basically defines your trading range. You can set this to whatever period you like, and you can set these levels. So if you only want to trade between 50 and let's say 60 and 50, so make it a very small trading range, you could set that as well. The type of volume is the real volume or tick volume. I normally just leave that at tick volume, and then also you could define what time frame you want your MFI to be set on. So for this one, for the USD JPY, I've set the MFI on the weekly time frame, the MACD on the 20-minute, and the Bollinger is set on the current time frame, which for this setting, it's the 5-minute time frame. Let's just look at the other settings quickly. We have trading times. So if you do not want to trade on Monday, Tuesday, you could choose whether you want to trade on certain days, and then also you could set a trading time. So if you only want to, say, do scalping after hours, you could do that, or when the markets are a little bit quieter, or you could trade throughout the whole day for 24 hours. We also have a news settings. So you could choose if you want to trade on low news, high news, medium news, and then also on NFP news. And you could specify before and after the news event how long you want to. So if you say you want to pause for 15 minutes before low news, for 15 minutes before the news event it will stop trading, and for 15 minutes after the news event. If you want to trade during low news events, you just set this to false, and then it will trade during the news events. Okay, so that is the algo. Let's run some back tests for 3 different. So right now we've got the USD JPY open, so let's just make sure we run it on the USD JPY. I'm running it from 2019 01/01 to 2020 04/13, so basically the last year and a bit. I like to backtest for a year and a bit because markets change over time, and what I usually do is when I'm running an algo live, I generally optimize it every 6 months, basically for the following 6 months. Okay, so let's just run this quickly. Let's just see our inputs. Let's just run the back test. Let's just see the graph, and let's start. Okay, so this is the US dollar JPY test. Let me just see if I'm running on the correct chart. Yes, I am. So as you can see, the back test shows with an initial deposit of 10,000, we've got a total net profit of 144,000. So that's about 1,400% within a year, with only a 19% balance drawdown. Equity drawdown is 34%, and the relative drawdown is 44%. So fairly profitable, but still quite high risk. If you want, what we can do, we could drop the risk percentage down to, say, let's say 10% of the free margin per trade. We start that, and we can look at the graph again. Trade finish. So at less risk, we're still making about 370% per annum with a much lower drawdown, as you can see here. Okay, I've also got set files for the default settings. By the way, sorry for not mentioning that. The default settings for this expert advisor is for the euro US dollar on the 5-minute chart. So I'm just going to load the defaults. So if you ever find that you've changed settings and you don't know how to get back to what you originally had them at, or the way the algo was downloaded at, you could just right click and say load defaults, and then it will load it back to the default parameters. Okay, so we've got the settings. This is for the Euro USD, the same time frame. Just going to run that test. Show the graph. Okay, so you can see also about 600%, 630% for a year. Backtest, quite high drawdowns, but scalping normally does involve putting a little bit more capital on the line. Okay, so let's actually now take this up a notch, and we say we're going to risk 50% of our free margin every trade. Let's run that. So at higher risk, you're posting up to 4 million, which is 40,000% over the year. But again, that is very high risk and not recommended. But if you want to take a punt, you can make quite a bit of money with this algo. Let's look at the back test. See, it's 84% drawdown, which is very high. And the equity drawdown is not that high. 21%, but still it's quite risky. Okay, and let's just show you one more thing. We're going to show you the Aussie USD, and remember, all set files when purchasing this algo, all set files come included with the download package. Okay, I'm just going to run the last one. We're going to change it to Aussie USD. I'm just going to load the Aussie USD set. This is the default set for the and you can see also fairly profitable with about 780% for per annum. Okay, that's it. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Please, if you like my video, subscribe. You could also access all of my algos on the website by following this link. You click on Algo Trader Store at the top of my YouTube channel. And hope everybody out there stays safe and stays indoors. Thank you very much. Goodbye.